All right, greetings and salutations again, my fellow Illumineers. Me, your boy JDZ, and we're back at it again with episode 9 of the Procast. Joining me, as always, on this episode is going to be Thiago. Is going to be back at it again on the show. Is also two-time Digital Lorcana Challenge champion, Mr. Frank Carson, is joining us, and back at it again from the Rift. I already made these jokes. I can't even make the jokes again. Is Mr. No, I'm Not, Mr. Kendall. How have you been? You are here. We see Rob is in the chat. This feels good. This feels right. That was a good practice podcast that we did before, gentlemen. But we'll kick it to you all. That's Frank hand in hand. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna take full responsibility, okay, for everything that did or did not happen in the practice episode of the episode 9. But gentlemen, just really quickly, we're gonna kind of have some of the same conversations again, just to kind of catch up the audience to where we were. Probably won't do the entire thing, but just kind of get back to where we were. Just quickly, how have you been? We'll start with you, Thiago. How was your weekend? How was your Easter? Did you get a chance to play some Session? I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me answer this question for the first time. Yeah, I had I had a good weekend. I did not, in fact, get to play any set champs. I had a nice Easter. I couldn't stay away from Lorcana too much though, so I did have to queue up online a little bit just to get my fix. But yeah, I had a good time. I'll be playing set champs this weekend. I'll be playing on Saturday and on Sunday, and then the following weekend on Saturday and Sunday as well. So I'll be sure to go out a little bit, and then yeah, get some games in. But yeah, I had a good Easter.
I'm so sorry. I'm only laughing because we've been sitting here for this whole like an hour. I think we shot the whole show, man. We were almost done with the show, and now here we are starting again. No, I'm not. Is looking frustrated. Don't be mad at me. No, I'm not. Frank, don't be mad at me. I'll take responsibility. I'll ride for the team. Frank, how have you been? Did you get a chance to get out and get your Lorcana on this weekend?
Well, as I certainly did not say about an hour ago, I am looking forward next weekend to play in a local set championship. Also going to be attending the DLC in Sao Paulo. That'll be fun, and yeah, already excited about the advent of the Infinity DLCs later in the year in a couple months. And who knows what actually happened? Maybe I even clicked a wrong button somewhere backstage. If so, sorry, but. I'm just happy that whatever happened, we can actually do a proper podcast right now.
Okay. Hopefully you guys have a little bit of time because we can kind of go over some of the stuff that we've already talked about. And now you have the opportunity to refine your ideas. So it's like we did a practice episode for the real episode. And there you go.
Yes. That was actually a good thing that it happened.
Yes,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, all the bad takes, we can get them out of there. And now I can look like a genius because now I can take your ideas that you already gave to me and pawn off as my ideas. Mr. No, I'm Not. You're back in the realm of Lorcana. I know you've been bound in the Rift here a little bit, getting your Arcane on, but now you found your way back here. Are you into some set championships this weekend? Do you have any Lorcana events coming up in the future?
I have not played any set champs yet from Easter this past weekend, but I'm playing probably my only set champs for this go around this upcoming weekend. And I will not be going to Brazil, so I think my next Lorcana event is probably will be in the next set at the next CCS in Houston, which is next month at the end of May, I believe.
Okay. And I hopefully you get out there and get to the dub. I think there's going to be a 50K or a 25K or something happening in CCS. Also, there's going to be a World Class Cards 5K CCQ happening. Hopefully I can see all of you gentlemen at that event. Also, there's plenty of CCQs happening all over the world, and DLC in Indianapolis is going to be an Infinity event. Signups for that are open. Maybe you gentlemen can make it to that tournament as well. But the joke that I made earlier was that I was the only one who had the opportunity to go to a set championship this weekend, and I was able to achieve a top 8 placement in this event playing this deck. And along with this deck, I played a unique strategy or a unique concept, what I was trying to do. And you guys already roasted my deck before, so I can't take it again physically. But here's the strategy that I played, and I am executing the Tinkerbell challenge. Okay, so with this set championship run, as I often do in all the set championship runs, I try to take the promo card that is the prize card and place it into my deck at maximum copies and try to win a card with that card. Or maybe push it even further and potentially even win the event. This time it happens to be Tinkerbell, the Snowflake Collector. I believe this card is a bit bad, a bit underwhelming. I think they are a little too safe on this card. You do have to have some criteria, some thresholds you have to get to in order to get the maximum utility out of this card. But I tried to put Tinkerbell to the forefront of this deck by playing the Pocahontas. You play the Tinkerbell, you get up to the 4 lore, you quest Pocahontas, you can get the 4 lore. You play the Show Me More to increase the opportunities to get Tinkerbell up to that 7 card threshold. You can bounce cards back to your hand with the Madam M Elephant to increase her strength or increase her questing power to really maximize her. Also, you can shift the Tinkerbell in order to best utilize her ability. I think the card is terrible. You guys missed it. They destroyed my deck. Okay, they were very, very, very mean on what they had to say about my strategy the first time. So maybe we'll kick it around one more time to just get some nicer takes on this Tinkerbell strategy. Okay, so gentlemen, what do you guys think about my deck? What do you guys think about the Tinkerbell challenge in general? And what do you guys think about the way that I put this deck together? Just super quick. We know, but they don't know, for the people viewing at home.
I didn't say too much about it the last time.
Please.
So I'll add some stuff. I wanted to say good initiative, bad judgment, but no, I think the challenge is really cool, and I see that there was thought also put into the deck because it looks like you're trying to actually win with the Tinkerbell. So that's why you didn't include something like Dock, because Tinkerbell, you want to have a bunch of cards in your hand, and Dock incentivizes you to empty your hand. Also, when you refill with Dock, you're nowhere near like the amount of cards you need for Tinkerbell to really like pop off. So it was good choices to like not include cards like that. But I think we did talk about how you should basically just try to play a regular purple steel deck and then just always just ink the Tinkerbell. But here it looks like the challenge is more than just having Tinkerbell in the deck. You're actually like building a synergy around the Tinkerbell and wanting to, put the card into play and, shock your opponent. So
yeah. I think and honestly to that point, and we did also discuss this, and I hate to keep saying the things that we talked about because it was a really cool show, man. That just got lost of time there. But I feel that would have been cheating. Like if I just show up with a normal deck with 4 Tinkerbells and they just never get used or just get discarded with Angel or Inked and Inkwell or something like that, I think that's unfair. I think Tinkerbell has to be a part of the deck, or maybe a part of the win condition. But any other thoughts that you guys want to share on this episode number 2 about this strategy and about how you would do it or any changes you would make?
Yeah, I will just say I absolutely love it. It's a deck building masterpiece, complete perfection, no notes. Beautiful.
Oh no. Yep, that's always been his opinion. He's always held that, and he's the Purple Steel Master, and those are his opinions on this particular Amethyst Steel strategy. In my opinion, I think that this Tinkerbell does not quite fit with the Amethyst Steel strategy, which is revolving around having a strong early game curve, and then of course going into this mid game where you are casting a lot of spells in a turn through all of your card draw effects. That's why we see Purple Steel frequently leveraging cards like Dock and Demona, because they help you kind of vomit the board and create this really untenable board state for your opponent where you're constantly deploying multiple threats in a same turn. And I think that this Tinkerbell card is quite poorly positioned in the metagame because the metagame revolves around a lot of these extremely powerful cards like Demona and Clarabelle, which incentivize you to frequently have a low hand size so that you don't get completely blown out by them. and this Tinkerbell kind of runs into a trap where you have to build your hand size, and then the most powerful card from your opponent's deck is able to get a ton of value. I do think that we need some more card draw effects to really utilize this Tinkerbell once we've decided to include her in our deck. And as we said, it's pretty difficult to have cards like Dock and Demona, which incentivize you to have a small hand size. So I'd be looking at cards like another Dumbo, maybe something like Junior Woodchuck Guidebook, and sort of these kind of effects. Maybe you need like a copy or two of Finders Keepers as well.
Oh, for sure. And I didn't mention this in the first run of the show. Is the only reason I'm only playing 3 Dumbos is because I only had 3 Dumbos at the time. I only had 3. I was refusing to buy the 4th copy of Dumbo. I ended up getting one in a trade at this very set championship. So now I have the complete play set of Dumbos. But thank you so much, Frank, for pointing out how this was so funny, dude. I don't know why. That tickled me, man. That was really good. Thanks for pointing out how broken this deck is, and maybe you guys can take it to the DLC in Brazil and you can win that tournament. But we did get a contribution coming in, and we talked about this as well. So, Thiago, you might have to run this back again. Thiago actually submitted for our own viewing pleasure a version of this strategy that they would play if they could, if they might, or I might play this weekend, something that could pass off. So here's Tinkerbell Challenge number 2 for set championships. Is this something that you're interested in? No, I'm not. It's like, I've heard this before. I'm not trying to hear it again. Cut it out. Okay, we're locked in. This is the first time in forever. Thiago, just talk about this deck super duper quick, and what are some of the pros and cons of this strat?
Yeah, I think that this is a take on yellow purple control that is trying to utilize the Raging Storm to kind of set back our opponent's board. We are trying to play a strong mid-range game plan in the first few turns where we're developing to the board and trying to slow our opponents down before eventually wiping the board with Raging Storm and then refilling the board with some characters like the Tinkerbell, along with anything left over in our hand. Just try to apply some pressure on the board to close the game out after a Raging Storm. So we're typically going to be looking to draw cards and answer some of our opponent's threats throughout the mid game, while we eventually play Raging Storm, maybe draw some cards after, and then quest to victory with our Tinkerbell. I think it's probably not the best way you can build this color combo, but it does utilize the Tinkerbell. We're able to use cards like Second Star to the right and the library to draw a bunch of cards, as well as utilizing the synergy between Ohana means family and some of these effects that exert our opponent's board, because frequently people can play around the Ohana means family by just keeping their characters upright, but when you force their cards to get exerted with effects like Isis Vanderchill, Elsa, and Demona, we're able to set up for the Ohana means family in a way that other color combinations cannot. And so you're able to draw a bunch of cards like that and build up your hand size for this Tinkerbell. This deck's opting not to use the Grandmother Willow, which is typically seen in these strategies, which is not something that I've done yet in any of the yellow-purple decks I've played, but to me, when we're playing Raging Storm, it seems a little bit incongruent with the strategy where we're trying to kind of build out the board, and then it's like such a horrible top deck that you're forced to play into because it's uninkable, and so you're playing this uninkable 2-mana 1/2 that quest for 1. It doesn't impact the board, it doesn't let you ink it, and yeah, it just doesn't it really clashes with how the Raging Storm wants you to build. So I'm going to try this list that is opting not to use it, but might eventually have to add some of those back. But yeah, we're just trying to make a sticky board with our Royal Guard and Iago Stomping Mad and Cheshire Cat, and then eventually just try to draw as many cards as we can before wiping the board.
And I like that, being able to... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I like the Lantern a little bit more than Willow, just for the fact that it sticks around post Raging Storm. Like, I'm never really a fan of ramp creatures into my Wrath effect, but Lantern doesn't help you cast Raging Storm, but at least it still sticks around, or maybe even play Raging Storm and then like use Lantern to play a 1-drop or something in the same turn, but not like that's backbreaking or anything.
Yeah, I think the reason why a lot of people have shifted towards only using the Grandmother Willows as opposed to the Lanterns is just because the Grandmother Willows can be cast with the reduction of other Grandmother Willows. So when you draw them in multiples, it's like a completely reasonable game plan against decks like Dogs, where you just like completely spam the board. You play like double Willow, double 1-drop, a cat, and then you like curve all of this into an early Demona, and then you actually are able to like build a quick board that's able to clock them somewhat reasonably. But yeah, just because these cards are uninkable, they like force you to play into them. The Willow just kind of works better in multiples, typically, which is I think why we see most yellow-purple players tending to play the Willows. Mostly just because you're trying to have as empty of a hand as possible going into your Demona, and the multiple Willows is easier to play alongside each other than multiple Lanterns is typically.
Okay. I think that's a very
Would you
fair
play a
point.
deck like this, Kendall? This is pretty reminiscent to like old red purple decks now. Would something like this
Yeah,
be
yeah, I would
appealing?
definitely try to play it. I'm also a huge fan of Second Star. I moved off of Second Star and Blurble, I think before Demona came out, but that also seems a little awkward to me. Demona singing Second Star. But I think you just have to have the card like Demona in your deck though, and then Second Star is there mostly for the Tinkerbell. It's not like it's fully committing to Second Star either way though. But yeah, I would play this if someone handed this to me at a set champs. I wouldn't build it myself, go out of my way to build it, but if I showed up to the store and someone was like, "Here's a deck box," yeah, I would play it. So
Nice. I'm building it. I'm gonna sleeve this thing up and I'm gonna take it to a set championships this weekend to keep the Tinkerbell challenge alive. If you guys are interested, I know there's some people who have reached out and they say they've expressed interest in trying this and seeing what their brews can be, and people have sent me deck lists of what they could do, and it's kind of a fun thing to try to make the set championship experience a little bit less. I know you guys, this is a very, very competitive podcast. You guys are very competitive players, so I'm not trying to convince you to be less than that, but there is a yearning, at least, or from my estimation or my opinion, and we kind of spoke about this earlier as well, is that the set championships experience is people's first interaction with the game of Digital Arcana in any competitive fashion. So for the most part, by and large, if you may agree with me, depending on what your local region is like, the set championship vibe is semi-casual, budding on competitive, I would say. So I want to take it serious. I want to have a good time, but I want to ensure that everyone is there having a good time as well. And if I just show up with a high-profile meta strategy that has been like tested, I think it might, at least in my area, it might deter more people from re-engaging with that tournament and coming back. So I try to be, like a go down a little bit. And also it gives yourself built-in out, so when you don't do well, you can just blame your poor deck, and when you do well, you can get all the credit. So
Yeah, it's a huge win-win. It's
yeah.
either, of course I was supposed to lose. Do you see this garbage I'm playing? Or,
Right.
dude, look how good I am. I won with this garbage.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
I'm a big fan of it. I would personally play decks like this all the time, but for me, I'm just like too lazy to sort through all my cards and then pull out these and then see which like 6 commons I'm missing and then like start messaging people to like ask to borrow like this random common. But in theory, that would be like my ideal would be I'd play a different deck every set champs and like try out all this stuff. But realistically, I'm grabbing my dog's deck box for the 42nd time this set and then walking into the store and just playing Willow into Tramp and calling it a day.
Yeah, and you guys have a different perspective. Like, you have to, do well at these events. You have to get these training reps in. I don't know. Do you guys ever play casually for fun, or you said when you have time, if you have the availability, is that something you're interested in?
Yeah, I mean, I like just playing for fun. I mostly just like on Dreamborn will like filter to like show only things of one movie, and then I'll like try to see what deck I can build, and they always look completely horrible. And some of them it's like there's 16 possible cards that you can play, so if you play 4 of every single card, it's like you're at 64 cards, so you only cut like 1 card, and then some of them are like you need to be playing them with items, and then there's no items in like the movie, so it's like of course you can't play this card, and so then the deck just kind of built itself. But yeah, the big problem is building them for me. I'm just like building them in actual paper and then playing them. But I like building the decks, and then at the set champs, I think it's generally a pretty casual atmosphere. Like people are definitely bringing their like meta decks and trying to win, but it's like everybody's super laid back. Nobody is like trying to shark people at the set champs to get their Tinkerbell promo or whatever. So it's
Right.
always a good time.
Right. Okay, and
Yeah,
that kind of trans. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please. There's like a slight delay. Go ahead, Frank.
I do enjoy showing up to these set championships with some self-imposed deck building restrictions, like you do with like the Tinkerbell challenge. Like similarly, I have shown up at a set championship a while back with Singleton, Ember Steel, just literally 60 different cards. And within that restriction, then trying to build the best deck and, playing all the games as seriously as possible with the intent of winning. But yeah, there's a lot of fun in the process of deck building, and by bringing that to these events, I think that is in the spirit of Disney Lorcana and having fun. Some set championships are a bit more competitive in terms of the decks that people bring, or even like the level of players than others. I've certainly experienced some differences between stores in that regard, but they are always fun to attend, and yeah, you can have fun with these decks for sure.
Nice. I like it, man. I like that. We're gonna start getting you guys a bit more casual and getting me a bit more competitive. And let's meet in the middle. I think that's
Yeah.
a fair way to go about it. I think that's
I
super
think it's
fair.
really helpful too. Like when you do these things, and like as Frank said, it's like the restrictions come when you're building the deck, but then when you're trying to play, you're like always trying to make the best play no matter what the situation is. For me personally, like when I started playing with these like somewhat casual decks for fun, like before I was playing all these tournaments and whatever, I think it made a huge difference because when set 9 came out and sets 1 through 4 rotated out, the power level of the game dropped dramatically, and then it became a lot more like vanilla. And I think I won the first 2 major tournaments in set 9 right after the rotation, and I think an unironic big piece of that was because I was playing like this like frozen like theme deck or whatever that curved out like very similarly to how a lot of the decks in the post rotation meta were playing. And so like a lot of the guides and whatever that were out there for how to play purple steel in the new format or whatever were talking about like, oh, you need to pressure these decks, and then you want to like go really wide against Blurple, which was the premier deck at the time, to kind of try to overwhelm the board and whatever. And then I learned through playing these like underpowered decks that like if you ever do that, then your hand is like completely destroyed, and then you go into turns 4 and 5 with no resources. Whereas if you have even just like a single resource because you never multi-spelled a single time throughout the game, then it's like your best card of the 5 cards that you inked throughout the games. And so it's like in that format, you were like going into turns 4 and 5 with like an extra Dumbo in your hand or an extra Elsa in your hand that people who are like trying to go wide into these Blurple decks weren't able to do. And so then it became a meme, right, where you go 1, 2, 3, 4 strength. But it was a meme because like people were literally just not doing that, and like people were telling people to not do that. And it really is that simple. But like you kind of, when you put yourself through these different parameters when you're working with some of these like non-meta decks, then you kind of just like discover new parts of the game that you have to like fight through to try to win. And so is like a big part of those decks that weren't built with like the same consistency that constructed decks are, is like you really have to value all your resources, and you have to like go into the mid game with as many resources as possible because you don't draw that much, which is not the case with the purple decks pre-rotation where you had 4 Box Followers, 4 Magic Brooms, 4 Diablos. It was like you multi-spelled in the early game, and then when you got to the mid game, you just drew a bunch of cards. And so like I was able to figure that out and get a huge edge in that format because it was like something that me playing this theme deck I had to like fight through and figure out.
Mm. So I like that. And when you limit yourself, it might make you a stronger player too. I think limiting is good, and also there's a very rare chance, and you're kind of getting close. I think if you'd have kept going with it, you could find something new that other people haven't found yet, and like maybe break the game wide open in some way. And speaking of that, we're kind of where we were before we cut off. We kind of turboed through a lot of the last conversation, but I kind of want to speak about your tier list, Thiago, that you submitted for review. So we'll put that on the screen right now. So here is the tier list. We're talking about Core Constructed right now. This is going into DLC in Brazil and the rest of your set championship runs. If you guys are going to set championships, here's the tier list provided by Thiago. He did this in isolation, and he's going to raise this to the panel right now. So we'll kick it around to Frank and Noam Not to kind of discuss what they agree with, what they disagree with where the deck lists are placed on this tier list. list if there's any disagreement at all. And we can kind of start with you, Thiago, why you put this tier list together this way. We got dogs, and I'm assuming that's dogs, unless that's Circle of Life there at the top tier. Just kidding. And Amethyst Steel is going to be on your S tier. So just kind of talk about why you have some of those decks very highly. And gentlemen, if you just want to open up discussion to kind of talk about this list and where you would move things around if you could.
Yeah, so I think that this is basically where the format has landed after we've gone through 3 major DLCs, first in Melbourne, then in Ghent, and finally in Taiwan. So we've kind of seen the meta run through the cycle very quickly because these DLCs were really close to each other. And then now we're kind of seeing how it's settling. There's still some CCQs here and there, and then we're going to head to the DLC in São Paulo in a couple weeks. So moving into the set champ season, this is kind of what the meta's shaken out, in my opinion. I think that Dogs has clearly separated itself as the very best deck in the format. I think when it wins as many DLCs as it's won, and when all the top players are all kind of in lockstep agreeing that this deck's incredibly powerful and kind of on a level of its own. But we've still seen Purple Steel fight back. It's still put up multiple CCQ wins, as well as the most recent CCQ. So it's gone through a lot of different iterations. We've seen some super aggressive decks at the start, and then towards the middle of the format, we saw them kind of playing more of these cards that prey on some of the aggressive strategies like Dogs. And then we saw the Burn deck win a CCQ 2 weeks ago, and then kind of a hybrid version with a lot of tech cards win last weekend in Montreal. So the deck has won the most CCQs of any deck this format, actually. And so particularly in a set champs field, it kind of makes sense that this would be like the top dog. Like, I think for most people, if they look back and count at the end of the season which deck won most of their local set champs, it could very well be Purple Steel. Just under it, I think Purple, Green, Blue, and Amber Steel are all excellent choices. I think these decks will win some tournaments. I think, yeah, they can absolutely win every single set champs that you play in. And in the DLC, the top cut will be littered with these decks. And just under that, we have Yellow, Purple, Blue, Steel, and Red, Yellow. These decks are all pretty good. They have to get a little bit more luck in terms of the matchups that they face throughout the tournament, but they do powerful things, and somebody's run can absolutely come together where they put up a strong performance with these. And right under those, we have Red, Purple, Blue, Yellow, and Green, Purple. These are all decks that, again, like, you're going to have to work for your wins, but it's not impossible that somebody does well. It's not impossible that you see these in the top 32 of a DLC. And then finally, we have just a bunch of red decks. And so these I would definitely not recommend playing. Like, you certainly can win a set champs promo, and you maybe can win the set champs playmat, but yeah, you are going to have to work way harder than everybody else in the room.
I like it. That's where I cut my team. What do you guys think about this list? Any changes you would make? Anything you would move up or down? Or anything you want to disagree with? Or do you think it's absolutely rock solid? I'm looking at that Ruby Amber list, man. I like that deck a lot. I think it can do some really cool stuff. Maybe it can be a little bit higher, but I don't know. I think I'm agreeing with it. Anything you guys think about it? No, I'm not. Frank?
I think that Dogs, like Thiago said, it has separated itself, so it should probably be in its own separate list. I think he only put Purple Steel in there because he lost to it to Top Cut in the last CCQ. And then I don't think it's very small ball stuff, but I guess I just haven't played enough this set. But I look at Red, Purple, and Blue, Yellow at least, and it's hard for me to believe that Ruby, Amber is better than those two decks. But other than that, yeah, I pretty much agree with the other stuff.
That new Ruby Amber is kind of cooking, man. That deck
is this the like Lucas Calpa?
No, it's
like,
a different
deck?
one. It's one. It's got the Olafs and stuff in it. It's got the Ohaname's family. It's got the Sharks. It's got the Boost Scrooge, the Mulan Shift stuff. The deck is really cool, man. I've seen people playing it a lot on the publications and online and stuff, and I've seen people reporting their set championship wins with that Ruby Amber deck, and it's been performing really well, especially against some of the mainstay top deck stuff.
Yeah, I don't know why,
I
but like the deck has been super popular, like particularly online. I don't find it to be strong at all. Like this
Hmm.
deck can't answer an Emerald's Chromacon, and so like literally every time I play this card, they just instantly concede. If you just like keep a Delamoons in your hand or something to discard to their Mowgli, it's like they're just completely fold to a Chromacon Lilo, which in my opinion is like a big check for a lot of decks in the meta. It's like you have to be able to beat a Chromacon plus a Lilo. It's like such a low bar to clear, and so many of these decks fail to do it. But in a meta where like in the top cuts of these tournaments, you're playing against so many dogs players, it's like you have to at least cross that bar before realistically thinking you have a chance to win the tournament.
Yeah, when I saw the deck, I wasn't really impressed either, and I might indeed push Ruby Amethyst a little bit higher instead. But those are minor things. I can also see like no, I'm not sad to put dogs in a category by itself. Um, though that may also depend on what sort of level you're playing at. I think dogs, when you can play it optimally, may have the highest ceiling of any deck in the current format. But it can be a little tricky to maximize that and make every decision correctly to get the most out of the dogs deck. Whereas many of the other decks can be a little bit easier to just pick up and play at a reasonable level. So at the set championships, it's probably fine to have the distinction at the top tiers like you have it currently. But for let's say DLC Sao Paulo, I might be putting dogs in a category on its own. I might even be switching to dogs, depending on where I might settle in the coming weeks. I have played a lot of Purple Steel, but my results with the deck have been fine but somewhat unspectacular. Whereas dogs always feels extremely powerful.
Mm.
That said, a properly built purple steel deck, I believe, still has a slightly favorable matchup against dogs. So that's a nice aspect. One question mark is the Ember Steel deck for me, because it has been growing in popularity as of late. But when I tested the deck around DLC Ghent, basically versus a gauntlet of what was it, like dogs, purple steel, and blurple, it did not really put up great results, and it did not feel powerful enough. This was true both for the Amber Steel deck that I built myself before the DLC, which was pretty close to what Diego played, though slightly less tuned, as well as with Diego's version that we then tested right the evening after. In those test games, it just didn't really perform, and I fear that this Ember Steel deck has a bit too many pieces that need to come together. Like you can have amazing openings with singers into Akut, and then having fast, incredible openings. But sometimes you draw one piece of that puzzle without the other piece, and your hand can be a little bit awkward. Um, you also have to run all these like awkward top decks in the late game, all these small characters that can just be awkward to draw into. Whereas if you compare that to a deck like Purple Steel, has far more impactful draws most of the time. And draw overall, the deck is fine, and you can certainly take it to a set championship and win. I think that even holds for every potential deck on this list, or just in existence. It's more important to just bring something that you enjoy, that you have some familiarity with, that fits your playing style, and that you will have fun with, than to necessarily uh, like pick a list with the highest theoretical win rate. But when it comes to like choosing a deck for a tournament like a Disney Lorcana Challenge, I would be hard pressed to select Ember Steel just based on the results and impression that I got from the games I've done with it.
Mm. So I got a
Yeah,
question for you guys, real quick. Like, why is dogs kind of feel as if it's been kind of dropping off in popularity? I could be maybe saying this in a vacuum, but some of the CCQ reports that we've seen and some of the initial set championship runs we've seen, the dog strategies just have not been played or been converting as much as they did earlier on in the set. Do you think that's maybe just people are kind of choosing not to play this deck or maybe getting away from it because of its play patterns or its power level, and they're just trying to like self restrict? What do you guys think about the reduction of dogs' performances over the past few weeks?
I think it's a
People are
combination of a lot of
starting
things.
to
Yeah.
respect it a lot more than at the beginning of the format.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one really respected it, and then now, like I don't know, I went to locals this past week. I'm not saying this is just at my locals, but I played against a red purple deck that they have, the Lumiere, they have uh Horseman, and they even had I can't remember her name, but it's the Ruby Gargoyle that like your strength can't be reduced
Oh,
Eliza.
to.
yeah,
Yeah,
Eliza.
so like people and like the purple steel decks are finally they put binges in their deck or whatever. Like people finally put the item hate in, but dogs is also like flopping back and forth between are they a hybrid like Chromacon Under the Sea, are they only Under the Sea? So sometimes those cards can be dead, at least they're inkable. But I think people finally started, tuning their decks more. The Blurple decks finally gave up trying to kill each other in the mirror match and actually put cards that help them, like more Tiggers or Isis, into their deck.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that so in the last DLC that was played in Taiwan, the top four was Ed on blue green, and then the three other players were all Blurple players. So that's kind of where the kind of the supposed downfall of dogs started. But in my opinion, that's just like one tournament that happened, and like we saw a lot of dogs make it super deep. We saw Zan trying to defend his title. Following his Ghent win, he made top 16 of that tournament. I won a dog's mirror in top 16 before making top 8. There's another dogs in top 8. So like the dogs was still littered all around the top cut. I still think that it's performing super well. I think in some of the CCQs, we are one, there's just less dog players, and two, it's like a lot of the super top players are not really playing a ton of CCQs, maybe because they're already qualified, or it's just like difficult to travel to, or whatnot. And we do see a big drop off between the top dogs players and some other players picking up the deck. But it still is putting multiple copies into top eights of the CCQs, even if it's not taking it down. And I think it's just like we are seeing one when dogs was as dominant as it was in the first month, they all started trying to like race to the bottom where it's like they're all cutting their chromacons and adding like 45 under the seas and like playing all these cards that are only supposed to help in the mirror, and they really gave up their matchup spread in other matchups. And then where it's like we're seeing these amber steel decks which are ramping to angel and are also adding an item destruction now, and we're seeing these purple steel decks which are were previously all right against dogs. Now they're adding Fire the Cannons, which is really poor in some other matchups, and they're adding 3 item destruction cards, like the one that won the Montreal CCQ was playing 2 Fire the Cannons, a Benja, and 2 Steel Champion Plutos. And so we're seeing them tech really, really heavily, and then they're still just like eking out wins against dogs. So I think that there's still like another wave of tuning that the dogs deck's going to go through to kind of readjust to the meta where we found ourselves now, because the meta is still evolving even though tournaments aren't happening. We're seeing decks like the Ember Steel deck that we talked about. It's been the #1 most popular deck on one of the popular simulators, and then in paper, it over the last 2 weeks has not quite caught up to Blurple and Purple Steel, but it's just nearly in third place there in terms of popularity. So I think it's just like dogs decks getting rid of some of their strong cards in those matchups to tech more for the mirror, and then these other decks all teching at dogs. And so I think that basically what's going to happen is some of the dogs decks are going to adjust. I think dogs is so strong and can play so many different game plans with their Chromacons and their Tramp 7s and their Under the Seas and the Lady 5s that you're just going to shift between what you're doing so well that it's really, really difficult for even these tech cards to really stop you. It's like they really need a critical mass of going like fire the cannons into Angel, into item destruction. It's like takes a lot on their plates to be able to compete. And then I think that in the bigger the tournament is, the harder it's going to be for those decks to get through, just because you're playing such a big variety of decks, and there's so many different top players on the top tables with different decks. It's not like at a CCQ, if you know the two best players are playing dogs, you can like super tech for it and then get through some of the weaker players where your deck's not totally optimized, and then just like take out the best couple players where your deck is super teched. I do think that it is going to still be the best performing deck in Brazil.
Interesting. Even if it's being targeted, that's interesting that you say that, because I think if everyone agrees that dogs is that apex predator, the top dog, no pun intended, I believe that you can hard counter that deck and increase your odds. And that's very interesting to hear you say, because dogs really thrived in that position where they were a strategy that was a strong deck, but people were focusing on Sapphire Amethyst. They were focusing on Amethyst Steel, and they weren't necessarily targeting the dog strategy. But I believe going into DLC in Brazil, the dogs will be the deck to beat, and I think people will augment their strategies to counter pick the dogs. That might make it a little bit more volatile or vulnerable, I would say.
Well, based on what I've seen at the last few DLCs, I think that it can be true that both many players adapt their lists with dogs in mind, and that dogs will still be the best performing archetype, because people on average might not have adapted their lists enough. And even in terms of card choices, when I look, for example, at the purple steel deck that won the CCQ at like in Canada, which had these fire the cannons and like Benjas in the main deck, it certainly helps against dogs quite a lot, surely. But I would still be missing Black Heron. I would rather have some 2-drop Black Herons in my deck than uninkable Fire the Cannons and, well, too many Calhoun or Pocahontas, just to like curve out more smoothly, not just against dogs, but in practically every matchup. And I don't know why no one uses that card, but I still think it's one of the better 2-drops to have in purple steel. For Brazil, I'm sort of torn between purple steel and dogs myself, but yeah, I do think that the experienced dogs players who really leverage every single ounce of their cards and know how to sequence and know how to mulligan and know what to ink and what to go for, what to discard with all your draw and discard effects, will show that the deck is still extremely powerful when played at a high level.
I would concur. I would agree, man. I would like to see how it shakes out. I can't wait to DLC in Brazil. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend myself, but I will be watching from afar. And I know you gentlemen are currently testing and training and preparing yourselves to go to that tournament. And I'm certain you will all have a good result when you go there and do your very best. And maybe you can convert, maybe get another invite, golden Mickeys, those types of things. But on the opposite side of that, after DLC in Brazil is over, there is going to be this shift to Infinity, because the next series of DLCs happening after DLC in Brazil are going to be Infinity format focused. Okay, I understand you guys have been kind of really focused on the core constructed format. That's where we've been. That's where the 50-meter targets are. But has there been any thoughts on the Infinity format? Any discussion, any meta updates, or any initial impressions on that format? Have you had any chances to play a little bit of Infinity on some of the simulators? And if so, what are some of your Infinity thoughts?
So I haven't played a single game of Infinity yet. If I spend any time on Lorcana, it will be on Core Constructed before the DLC in Sao Paulo. But I'll surely play some games in this format afterwards, and I'm excited to try things out. My starting point, if I think about Infinity just from a theoretical perspective, is that the steel songs, in particular Strength of a Raging Fire and Let the Storm Rage On, are among the most powerful cards available. They're just really efficient removal that you can, well, play for 0 ink. And there are various color pairs that can play characters that can sing those songs as early as turn 2. Right, in Amber you have Cinderella, so that leads to Amber Steel. In Emerald you have the Diablo shift line, which can sing Let the Storm Rage On as early as turn 2. So a green steel deck seems quite viable as well. And even blue steel, where you combine Popsicle and 40 Sphere with Bell, may also give you a proper singer on turn 2. So those would be some of the strongest initial decks that I would build. And then, well, ultimately in some weeks from now on, I might intend to test those against each other and then see how they perform. Maybe some set 12 cards may also enter the mix, but it's unlikely that they are really going to lead to an upheaval in the format. That said, even though I have not played any Infinity yet, I brewed up this list a few minutes before, well, the original start of the podcast, as an idea of, well, suppose I would have to play in an Infinity tournament in a couple minutes from now. What would I register? So I basically briefly brewed up this list using some of the best Amber Steel cards that I could imagine. It's a color pair that I have found a lot of success with and enjoyed playing, at least in the very first year or two of Lorcana, and yeah, that is why I would lean towards that at first. In terms of card choices, there's no A Whole New World. I do have Ariel to just grab a whole bunch of songs, but I think that you can get card draw from other effects well enough to not have to go for A Whole New World. I also reckon that in Infinity, a lot of decks will be streamlined and low to the ground, capable of emptying their hands quickly, which then makes it more difficult than usual to break the symmetry on A Whole New World. And also with like the rules update where you don't immediately deck the opponent, but they get an additional turn. It makes it a little bit weaker against controlling strategies. That said, looking over the list, especially without A Whole New World, maybe I need some additional big cards or card draw effects. Might want to find room for another dog. Might want to find room for like big effect cards like Ariel Sonic Warrior or Ariel Ethereal Voice, maybe a Cinderella Stout-Hearted one of, maybe more copies of Beast. Basically, with Akut at Imuti to consistently ramp into those sorts of characters as early as, well, depends around turn 3 or so. It can be nice to like up those numbers a little bit. Maybe you can cut like one, and then along came Zeus. Maybe one underdog angel. Yeah, so something like that. Mm-hmm. So like little tweaks are certainly possible. But yeah, like currently this seems to be somewhere in between like a song build and an aggro build, but I like to basically be able to like present two different decks at the same time, where if you're on the play, yeah, you might go fast, even with like Daisy and Piglet and the like. And when you're on the draw, well, you're just going to mulligan those away or potentially ink them and then turn into a controlling deck with all the removal spells. And well, this would be a fun starting point for me to build from.
Nice. I like it. Gentlemen,
Yeah.
thoughts on the Amber Steel mid-grow control aggro deck we have here? I mean, it looks really cool. I want to try this. I mean, personally, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm a bit interested with like the way it's constructed. In terms of the curve, we see a lot of one drops, and then on the two cost characters, kind of we're not playing any of the typical 2 mana Singer Force that are a little bit more resilient and set up a Rapunzel, which you typically see in this deck. And then we're playing like uh 4 angels alongside 6 like typical 2 drops. So I'd be curious to see how you kind of are constructing your deck with these underdog cards. I think that it's something that we haven't really figured out yet. We've seen, like, for example, the Christopher Robin in Core Constructed is the most played one, and that deck is typically not playing any 2 drops alongside it, like usually just like 3 uninkable 2 drops or something. So that's still something that people, including myself, are still figuring out. So I'd be interested to see what you have to say on that. And then also in our 3 drop slot, we typically in decks like these, we see people playing a lot of 3 drops just because if you miss your turn 3 when you have so many 3 cost songs, it can be a little bit detrimental, particularly because we don't have a lot of those strong 2 cost singers either. And Pete is like not typically a card that people are playing on curve in Infinity super frequently. Though I do think it is pretty cool, just the idea of like this deck where you can like play a 2 cost singer on 2, and then on turn 3 like accoot out a beast, and beast is like really difficult to kill in the format. And then he's able to start drawing you cards as opposed to playing something like a whole new world. But something that I've been enjoying with this kind of Amber Steel strategy is utilizing the Keep the Ancient Ways card, because basically in old Steel Song decks is like you would cast your whole new world, and then if you wanted to play Pete to slow down kind of your opponent's ability to respond to what you're doing, the Pete would usually take up half of your ink or most of your ink. And so you're not really able to develop a lot of cards alongside it. But when you're able to sing the Whole New World and then sing the Keep the Ancient Ways with a different card and then vomit out a bunch of like Daisies and Mr. Smees and Neverlands, or Zootopia's the new card that they're playing, but you're just like able to put a ton of pressure, develop like 10 questing or whatever, because you didn't have to spend half of your ink on a 3 mana 1 quester that in order to stop their songs to be able to respond to your board back. So that's been my preferred way to play the strategy right now. But the Whole New World's an extremely clunky card in a deck that like you're already playing a lot of these other clunky songs. So if you are able to cut it and the deck still is similarly powerful, that is definitely like a strong direction to go.
Yeah, a whole new world is just a little awkward when you are on the draw in particular. A difficulty with building this deck, and we are surely having to sort of rediscover everything, is that you want to have a coherent deck and curve on the play, as well as on the draw. So when you look at a card like the Underdog Angel, when you are on the play, yeah, it's going to function sort of like an Ursula or Troubadour that cannot sing, and then along came Zeus, and that is weaker with Rapunzel, but still a possible 2-drop for the deck, but really sort of a backup. And on the draw, it is going to be basically better than Cinderella. So would be really strong there. You also get the complication that you want to build the deck, at least as I have it now, properly for Akut at Amuti, which especially on the draw can be sung consistently on turn 2, letting you just deploy, say, a Rhino or like a Forecast Angel ahead of time, which, well, seems solid. But then on the play, you don't have like as many good singers, and then you do need more cards on turn 2 or 3 to fill up the curve. It's all kind of a tight balancing act in the deck building, and yeah, I definitely think like this is just a list I brewed up in some minutes. It's certainly not going to be perfect, and the numbers will absolutely have to be tweaked. This Underdog Angel is also not a card that you necessarily need to play 4 copies of. Because I also think I would like to have some troubadours or Ursula Vanessa in there. It's just tough to find room for everything. So it's going to be a fun challenge to perfect the Amber Steel deck, and it can be built in so many different ways. But yeah, it'll surely be a strong contender, however you build it.
Yeah, you might be cooking yourself too, because the new set is going to be coming out. I think it's going to be coming out in time for this next DLC, so there might be some super busted cards that completely usurps this whole identity. So it is a nice, fun thought experiment. At least getting information out there to get the ball rolling. A great starting point. I think it's cohesive. I'm going to try it, but we have another strategy that was submitted by Thiago as well. So we have another take on Infinity format, another strategy that if I were to do a tier list, I would have this either at the S tier as one of the best decks, or definitely very high. It's going to be that Emerald Steel strategy with the removal of Hiram Flaversham as a counter to this deck. I felt to maybe you can outdraw some of the discard stuff and maybe have some counterplay there. Now that he's no longer a part of this format, it's very difficult, or at least more difficult in my assessment, to be able to do that, to just outdraw the discarding ability. And I think that just really pushes a strategy like this over the top. So, Thiago, can you just do a quick little meta deck breakdown of this strategy? Why did you put it together this way? How much testing have you done with a deck like this, or is this still kind of in the early rudimentary phases of the deck building process?
Yeah, I think this deck is what a lot of people are considering to be like the best deck moving into the Infinity format post Hiram ban. I would definitely put this and Steel Song as the two front runners before people really get their hands on the format and start diving in and discovering things. But this is just a deck that was so strong at the end of the last rotation, and realistically, not a ton of stuff has changed since set 8 when we were in a post Hiram world. I think that each set has only added like 1 or 2 cards, and nothing like so ridiculously overwhelming that it's changing the shape of the format. Maybe something like a Cood, but other than that, it's just like a couple little upgrades here and there. So we are seeing this deck adding the Max Goof and the Keep the Ancient Ways, which is like a cute little loop where you can cast the Keep the Ancient Ways, which triggers the Muses, which bounces a 2 attack character, so you can bring back the Max Goof, which will bring back the Ancient Ways, which will bounce the Max Goof, and then you can keep doing this to lock your opponent out of playing actions and spells. It's just like, okay, I don't think it's like that game breaking, but these are kind of cards that you're somewhat happy to run in a vacuum. I think the Max Goof is just pretty strong when you have specifically Let the Storm Rage On and Strength of Raging Fire. I've been seeing people playing it in all sorts of Green Diablo decks, and I think it's really underwhelming in some of the other color combinations, but specifically when you have access to Let the Storm Rage On and Strength of Raging Fire, it's pretty excellent at some copies. Other than that, it's like pretty standard of what we've seen before. You're, of course, trying to leverage the Diablo to get some early game card advantage, create a really lopsided game state for your opponent, make it really awkward to deal with, and try to build an early lead, make them use some resources kind of inefficiently to deal with it, and then you back it up with this Prince John sudden chill game plan where you really punish them for having used some resources inefficiently, and then you have these incredibly powerful cards like Ursula Deceiver of All and the Muses to really leverage the powerful steel songs that you have access to, as well as just some all-around powerful cards in the format like Pete, and this Beast is really strong. The Shift Pete is also good, especially since the Amber Steel song decks are getting some more songs that they want to play, which means that they're reducing the number of copies of The World's Greatest Criminal Mind that they used to just have to play to have a good density of songs for their Ariel Spectacular Singer. So if those decks are cutting World's Greatest Criminal Mind or trimming it, then the shift line Pete becomes unbelievable against them and extremely difficult for them to deal with. And yeah, you just have a ton of strong tools, and it's just overall like a really, really strong deck. And I think a lot of people don't know like where to even start for Infinity, and yeah, this is undoubtedly going to be one of the best decks from the ground running.
Thoughts on this, Norman?
Yeah.
You got anything? I know. Oh, sorry. Any thoughts on this strat of what Thiago had to say about it?
No, this looks strong. I think this is certainly gonna be one of the top tier decks. Has all the the card choices I would expect. While looking over the deck, there were actually two things that I realized for my Ember Steel deck. One, and I just had to look up the text of Prince John, greediest of all, to figure out how that works. Looks like if I play the 4-cost Angel and then like want to discard a card to kill your Diablo, you actually get to draw a card with Prince John because I'm discarding. So that's actually a fun interaction that is certainly gonna come up. The other thing is that I reckon that a lot of the top decks in the format are going to be playing Let the Storm Rage on with the ability to sing it early, which means that I definitely want to have some Troubadours or Ursula Vanessa in my Ember Steel deck, and perhaps slightly fewer, Angels or Piglets that would be immediately felt by a Let the Storm Rage on. It's also why I didn't even include Grandmother Willow as just an uninkable card that dies immediately to Storm. But that will absolutely have an impact on how decks should be built. So just two quick general thoughts as we're exploring the format. But this list is seems rock solid and certainly a big contender.
I did not bring any list to submit. I didn't know we had homework to submit some list, but
No, you're good. There's no need, man. Your vibe is good enough.
Ignoring all the other cards in this list, this is definitely something that I would like to do. Like, I just want to play Muses, bouncing Max Goof over and over, and buying back Let the Storm Rage on, or Strength of a Raging Fire. Seems really fun. Or I guess the item loop. I mean, that's cool, but yeah, just bouncing Max Goof to get back a removal spell every turn seems fun. Diablo's fun. My two starting points for Infinity were going to be green-yellow discard, which before rotation, I played it quite a bit, and its toughest matchups were green steel discard and amber steel. So if these are the top decks in the format, it would really have to depend on what else you can add to the deck. I think I saw some list with Webby Shift. So having an additional ward threat on top of Muses to help you get to your Singer 8 for Under the Sea probably helps the deck out a little bit. And then I saw the yellow-purple monster deck floating around, which looks fun to me. I don't know how good it is, but we all know that Akud is just a very powerful card. And so I always wanted to do Monstro combo, and since you can, I think you can play it on turn 5 if you have Lantern plus Akud. So maybe some decks, at least the steel decks, don't have really good answer for a Monstro on turn 5. Green steel would have Bruno, but yeah, a 6/8's kind of big. So
yeah.
Yeah, there's very little hard removal. It's only we don't talk about Bruno that the super popular decks are playing that fight with the Monstro. From the Metafy chat, Vader is asking, no Snowfort in this deck. I think that the Snowfort was a card that I was tinkering with a good bit before, because I think it really worked with kind of what the Diablo decks want to do. I think it does a really good job of defending the Diablo. My problem with the Snowfort is just that it's an uninkable 3-drop at a slot in your curve where you have so many power plays and so many uninkable power plays. So it's like on turn 3, you need to play out the Diablo that like you had kept in your altar to shift, but then you didn't get the shift line, so now you have to play this out. Or you're shifting your beast on the 3rd turn, or you're playing your Pete to set up a singer that's going to live to sing your songs the next turn, or set up his shift line. Or you're playing this Prince John out, which is uninkable, and then is going to give you all of your discard spells the next turn. Or you want to develop your Ursula Deceiver of All to make a really swingy turn the next turn. So I think the Snow Fort being an uninkable 3-drop is like the worst cost that it could have in this deck, because the turn 3 is the most congested turn, both with your uninkables, but also with just like your really, really strong power plays. So in that context, I think the Cove just ends up fitting slightly better, where it comes down on the 2nd turn. It wins against the Diablo Wars on the 2nd turn when both players are shifting them right away to trump your opponent's shifted Diablo. So that's kind of why I came back around to the Cove, even though the Snow Fort is a way, way, way stronger card in a vacuum than the Cove is.
Is there any hesitance on this Morph the Space Goo at 4 with his weak stats? He cannot withstand the strength stuff. So you're just gonna hope they don't have it, or you're just gonna vibe with it, or just kind of feel it out. When are you throwing this Morph Space Goo down?
I mean, in those matchups, you would definitely rather have the Ursula Deceiver on the 2nd turn, but it's good to give yourself some more consistency on some of your altars, giving you the option to have the Beast shift line or the Diablo shift line, and then if you don't have the 1-cost Diablo, you can even shift the 3-cost Diablo on the Morph if you really need to. It's one of the best things you can play on the 2nd turn. I definitely think it's stronger to represent the shift lines with the Morph than playing something like Mr. Smee, which some of these decks have played in the past. I think that when we've seen people moving away from the Morph, it was more so just because you needed to pressure the Ruby Sapphire decks that were really dominating the format in a way that the B shift line can't. But since that doesn't really seem to be the way that the format's heading, I think just playing the Morph Beast shift line is probably the ideal way to build the deck.
Oh, for sure. You can shift that Space Pirate Pete as well. That's pretty cool. Little include there. So cool, man.
Yep, not bad.
Cool. I like it. I don't hate it. What do you guys think about it out home in the live Metafight chat, and everyone on YouTube? Make sure you get into the comment section and let us know what you think about these Infinity decks. What are you playing in Infinity, and how's it going for you? If you guys want to be a part of the live broadcast, make sure you join the Metafight. The link should be down in the description, and you can submit your deck list for maybe some deck doctoring or something along that line, as it may be. Thoughts? I don't know. That could be something that can happen.
We're making a Google form that the Metafi or Discord subscribers can fill out. The form should be up today, and so you guys will be able to talk about which topics or some lists that you guys want us to discuss. So we should have that available to you guys shortly.
Very cool. Very cool. But as we do these things, we always remember that this is the World Class Cards team. You guys are on the road a lot. You're traveling a lot. You're going to a ton of different tournaments. And a lot of times when you do that, oftentimes you kind of get caught up. And I know, Thiago, you mentioned, maybe it's on this rendition or maybe the previous rendition, you've been on the road. This is like your first weekend being home, since you haven't had the opportunity. You've been traveling so very much, but I kind of want to take some time to talk about, we can kick it over to Frank really quick and kind of talk about some of your experiences you had back in DLC in Taipei, or just share some stories about some of your travels that you've had around the world, and what are those experiences like when you travel to all these different events, as we're just kind of getting into the preparation of going to DLC Brazil again.
So I always like to add a day or two to a big international trip to turn it into a big vacation, and actually explore some of the beautiful places that are around, sort of the play the game, see the world idea. At first, when I started playing card game tournaments, I just saw the hotel and the convention center and the airport, and that was pretty much it. But when you are traveling internationally a lot, you also have an immediate opportunity to see some places. So in Taipei, well, the main fun part was ad winning, and then hitting up the night markets in Taipei. So much crazy and amazing food, and celebrating the victory with a nice Disney karaoke. And that whole part, the tournament aspect and the preparation, the camaraderie is always a lot of fun. But then also being able to like explore the city for a day, is something that you don't always get the opportunity to. But when you are already in a far flung location, I certainly recommend to take the time and make something out of it. So likewise for anyone going to like from places from Brazil to the Philippines, or even a DLC in Europe. Yeah, if you have the opportunity, add some days and explore around to make it into like a really awesome holiday. For me personally, I also had a long layover. It was maybe like a 20-hour layover in Shanghai on the way back from Taipei to home, which I initially thought, well, overnight layovers are just annoying. But then I realized, hey, this is actually a great opportunity to visit Disneyland Shanghai, which I had never been to. So I took the opportunity. I only had like a few hours before my flight left, but like this is just downtown in Taipei. But yeah, I got to see like Disneyland Shanghai. Did like the unique rides there. They have like an entire Zootopia land. They have a Pirates of the Caribbean ride that is far more exciting than other places. I couldn't really understand what they were saying in the ride. It was like a whole bunch of like I don't know, Chinese followed by Jack Sparrow. So I could at least figure out who were talking about pirates. But yeah, it was just a fun opportunity. And also with like the continental championships coming up, if any of you are going to the LCQs, for example, yeah, I mean you're already near a Disney park, together with like a bunch of fans of Lorcana. Can be a lot of fun to just take a day and like head into the parks together, have fun in the rides, sing a song along the way, and just have a good time. So don't just use the tournaments or the opportunity to play cards, but also exploit the fact that you're traveling to awesome places in the world, and that you have an opportunity to see those.
Let's go.
And well, that's just my
Nice.
my recommendation.
That's pretty good
Yeah.
philosophy, man.
It's really cool to be able to go to all these places. I know, like in Hong Kong, then the day after the tournament, we went over to Disneyland Hong Kong, and then it was super cool. It's like very different from the parks here in the US. And then now I know in Disneyland France, they just opened like the Frozen Land Arendelle, and they already had that in Hong Kong. So I'm like seeing all these promos on social media for this. I'm like, guys, I already been there. This is not cool. It's literally have seen all of this already, and people are like so hyped. I was like, so it's just yeah, really
Yeah.
really sweet. I think that the calendar kind of sets us up to, because I am definitely maybe the most guilty of just showing up for the hotel and convention center, but um, it's pretty difficult with the schedule because it's like you go to a tournament in a different continent, and then the next weekend there's a different tournament in a different continent, and then the following weekend there's a different tournament in a different continent. So it's like you're flying 12 hours in between all of these, and it's you already don't get time to practice because it's like the day
Mhm.
after the tournament you have to take a 12-hour flight, then you're like tired, and then you like are still like thinking about the last week and trying to recover, and then it's like already Wednesday because you went forward an entire day on a time zone,
Okay,
and then
I
it's
see.
like then you have like one day sort of on Thursday to practice, and then on Friday it's like you're already like the day before the tournament, you have to like kind of be locked in. um And so if you took like one of these days off to go visit the place you were going to be, then it's like the entire time that you could have been resting or practicing in between weeks. So it's like you end up going by the third tournament in a row. It's like you haven't practiced for like almost a month, and then it's like really hard to stay sharp. Especially, I think that's going to be a big problem moving into the Continental Championships because there's a lot of players in the world who are qualified to several, and we know that there's going to be well, maybe we don't know, but allegedly there are going to be 4 in a row, and 1 week skipped and then a 6th one before. So it allegedly there's going to be, I think, like the US, then the next week is going to be Asia, then the next week, or it's going to be US or Europe, and then Asia, and then the next one is the other US or Europe one, and then the next week is Brazil or something like that, and then like
Jeez.
before it there was like a week skipped, and before that was Japan. So it's like the most important tournament of the weekend is, or the most important tournament of the calendar for everyone who's not going to Worlds is like going to be on the back of like a different tournament in a different continent. It's like you're going to the Continental Championship, which is played in Disneyland for most of these continents, if not all of them. And so then you like want to on Monday go to Disneyland in this different place, but then the most important tournament of the calendar is the next weekend, and so then you're like not preparing, and you have to fly the entire continent. So I wish that they would account for the fact that like people with the way that the schedule was, it's like people who are traveling to the tournaments are going internationally constantly, and so they're qualifying to these continental championships in different continents, and then they are going to be playing like in these weekends all one after another. And so like either make it so that there is, I mean, ideally there would just be like 10 DLCs in the US, right? So that you wouldn't have to go play these, and then you would like just qualify for the US Continental Championship, and then you can have your like Disney trip. But I think that the way that the schedule works this year, I wish that they had taking that into account when scheduling the Continental Championships, because it is an extremely important tournament. And yeah, if you have one day to practice in between them, you're not really getting the most out of the competitors. And so I think that would be a shame.
That's I think that might be the point. I think they don't want people doing what you're doing. They want
Right,
to make it
but then
they want to make it like difficult to be able to.
no, I agree. I agree, but then it's like in that situation, then they shouldn't have 3 DLCs in each major continent, right? Like,
Yeah.
I agree. I think that there should just be way more tournaments in the US, so I don't have to like fly to Singapore to play. But
Right.
like with the way that they're doing it, yeah,
That's how you
it's
gotta
a
do it.
shame.
And
In a perfect
yeah.
world though, like if you're not like let's say you're not someone on this team though, and like you spent your one vacation time out of the year to go to Taipei or like Italy or something, you do want to like see the city or something, because like if you just go to a hotel and convention center and you're in a different country that you've never been to or something, like at the end of the day you might as well been in Milwaukee or Indy or something.
Yeah, that's also a shame that the US
it looks
DLCs
the
are in these
same.
like horrible cities that like if you took your PTO to go to the DLC in the US, they put you in Milwaukee. You're like, bruh, what am I doing here? You're like the Greater Richmond Convention Center. Are you kidding me?
You guys are taking crazy shots at Milwaukee for no reason. Milwaukee didn't do anything. Just because
No,
Milwaukee can't be Paris, dude. We can't just be taking shots at Indy.
Apparently,
no
Milwaukee have also spent like $10 billion in the last 10 years to like improve their downtown or whatever. So like maybe it's a lovely city. I'm not, but it's, I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. Even like the European cities, like we're going to
Ghent?
the first one was, yeah, like Italy, Belgium.
Barcelona?
These are beautiful places. Like I don't know, the US just got the short end of the stick. In Singapore, it's like we're playing in the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, which is like a really like well-known area, and in Melbourne we're playing the Marvel Stadium, and here we're
Yeah.
playing in the Greater Richmond Convention Center. Like it's a shame.
No, why you keep taking shots at Richmond? Richmond didn't do anything, man.
Richmond.
Shout out Richmond, man. No.
Shout out Richmond. We love
Nah,
Richmond.
I fully see what you're saying. Like we have these marquee major American cities. We're talking New York City. We're
Yeah,
talking
imagine
Atlanta, LA. We're
50K
talking
rent for one
Dallas.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
But
even like for the nature lovers, like hold an event in Las Vegas. I know for the last three times that I was at like a card game event in Las Vegas, I added a couple days to like explore some of the national parks nearby, like from the Grand Canyon to Zion and Bryce and Death Valley was actually really good times.
Hmm.
Like beautiful places, and well, I certainly enjoyed all those opportunities. Now, obviously, in scheduling, they shouldn't really think too deeply about like those opportunities. Uh, Rather, convenience of the convention center is gonna be more impactful. And I also agree that what Thiago might be doing, like going to like multiple continental championships in a row, is likely not something that Ravensburger is really concerned about. Even if they would already like hold the different continental championships in different weekends, which makes sense. That is like enough of a help for those players who are just gonna grind all the continental championships. But yeah, if you have that many events in a row, all on different continents, yeah, you really have to keep your travel schedule in mind, and you may have to plan any additional days like carefully around it. But even then, if you would only like within the span of a couple of weeks, only like play Lorcana, sit in airplanes, travel, play, and so on, it can also turn into a bit of a grind. And just taking a day off and spending that in a way that can help you also relax, visiting some fun places can ultimately be more important in aiding your chances in those events than just like continually playing and potentially burning out. So, well, keep that in mind.
yeah, I think obviously nobody wants to travel a ton if they could, or I mean maybe some people do, but like when it gets to a certain level, it's like not what people want. But I think everybody would just prefer that there was more tournaments near them. I think at every level. I think if people were not like if the super competitive people were not having to do travel so much, they would not. Certainly at the frequency that we have for this year, and then you'd get around a lot of these problems. But it's like as a result of there just not being a lot of domestic events.
Right. And especially with the idea too of going directly to the world championship and bypassing that national event completely by winning one of these tournaments. I mean, that's just such a huge goal of people's, especially competitive players, making it to the world championship, especially seeing the last season's world championship, how cool that event was. Going to that event is probably high on the list of priorities. So being able to bypass the national event completely and just go directly to the world championship, I believe that is just too enticing to pass up if you have the means or the sponsorships or the ability to be able to go to these tournaments. And you're legally allowed to do it. I can't think of a reason not to. And you just have to, come up with a great schedule, make those necessary sacrifices, and make it happen if that is your goal, if that's something that you want to do. So, great
And
point.
then I think it just usually comes at the cost of seeing
Yeah,
the place you're traveling to, tying it back to the start, and that's a decision that everybody can make for themselves if they if they're willing to sacrifice some of the vacation aspect of the trip.
right on. But, gentlemen, as we are slowly starting to wind down this episode 9, part 2, first, I want to thank you all for being here. As always, Thiago spearheading this thing, keeping it all together. Frank and Mr. No, I'm Not, Kendall, is in the building. We always like to end these things with a little bit of a giveaway. Okay, a giveaway comes in to someone who's watching this thing from the live chat. Like I said, if you want to be a part of that, make sure you get into the Metafy. It's on the description here on the YouTube page. If you want to be a part of the live, we'll end it with some Q&A. If you have some questions here for the pro players, go ahead and get those questions in. If you don't, we'll go ahead and start to prepare a giveaway. So we'll take a couple minutes as we begin to close the show. As a thank you all for being here. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to this channel as we begin to close it out. But I have an idea for a giveaway if you guys want to hear what I have to say. I'll pull up a random card, ask a question about it, and see if someone can get the answer correct in the chat, and we can give something away based on that. Thoughts?
Yep, sounds good to me.
All right. Did we get any Q&As coming through? I can't see any on my end. People are being modest today. They don't want to ask any questions, so we'll have to move it on. But if you want to participate in the giveaway is open now. Anyone can play. I don't know what you're going to get. I think Scammering might be in
We'll figure it
charge.
out later. You guys just we'll reach out to you on the Discord, and then we'll figure it out.
All right. So for the giveaway, you guys can play along too as pro players. Okay, this card, you've probably never seen it before in your life, but for this giveaway, you guys can play along. You're part of this as well. All right, there's a 2-cost steel action from set 1. The action is called Ransack. Featured on this card, Ransack, is going to be, you can't look at it. You can't look at the card. You can't read it. You got to keep your computers closed. No looking it up. No looking it up, because the question is going to come from this card. You can't pull it up. All right. On the card Ransack, there are several bottles on the table. How many bottles are on the table in the card Ransack? Okay. Any guesses you want. Okay. How many bottles? Using your memory. You cannot look at the card because that is cheating. How many? We got Georgian comes in. We got Vader Llama says lucky 13. Okay. Georgian says 10. We got 16 coming in from Lorcana BCB. How many bottles are on the table? Okay.
I genuinely have never heard of this card ever. Like, I have no idea what this card does. No.
All right,
this is way before my time.
67 says Vader Llama. Timbo Slice with the 15. Let me count because I don't even know the answer myself. We got
live accounting.
Technically on the table. Let me make sure I'm counting again one more time because hold on, those are technically bottles there. That's one that's broken. Okay, so that counts as one. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Who said 16? Who said 16? Someone said 17.
BCB.
Lorcana BCB, we're giving you credit because I said on the table, okay? Not in hand, not on the shelf. On the table, there are 16 bottles. I had no idea. BCB wins. That's incredible. That's incredible. Okay, I'll pull.
What does this card do? Yeah, I need to be enlightened.
Was it draw 2, discard 2?
It is. Oh, that's morph. That's not.
Does it have flashback or no?
No, just
okay.
Flashback.
What is flashback?
How much does it cost?
2.
It's 2 mana. Careful study, right?
Careful study. Here's Ransack right. I'll pull up on the screen so you guys can see, and we can get a little.
Draw 2 cards, choose and discard 2. Oh, it costs 2. This is like basically 1/8 as good as Faithful Looting.
There we go. There it is right there. So I counted this one as 1 right here. And that's
we're fact checking you.
We're fact checking. Okay.
You guys can count and then say what you guys actually think it is, and then you guys get to sue JDZ for a trove or whatever.
All right, do we want to do another one, or is that it, or how many?
Yeah. Let's do another one. All
right. Let me find another. One. We'll kind of keep that going. All right. So with the same little theming. Okay. All right. Is
this an AI card or is this a real card in Lorcana?
That's a real card.
Real.
That's a real card. That's a real card.
What the heck?
All right. The next one. You guys ready? We'll do another giveaway. Same thing. You can't look. You got to use your memory. Okay. Access your mind. All right. There is an action from set 1 again. It's a song. It's called One Jump Ahead. Okay.
I know that one.
Jump Ahead, Aladdin is jumping out of a window. It seems paragliding through, but there's also some number of swords. How many swords are featured in the card One Jump Ahead?
4.
One Jump Ahead is Frank's favorite card. Frank, can you enlighten us while people are coming in with the answers on some of the math behind adding One Jump Ahead to your Sapphire ramp deck?
There you go.
Yeah, of course. Now, as for the number of swords, my guess would be exactly 1, because One Jump Ahead is also an ideal one of, because it does raise your chances of hitting turn to ramp into sort of an ideal number, because like if you just look at your opening hand, if you have just 8 ramp effects and like 0 develops, the likelihood, let's say on the play, to have one of your 8 ramp effects is around 91.3%. But if you then go up to 9 ramp effects, right, adding that singleton 1 jump ahead, you raise that likelihood up to 93.8%. So that is a relevant increase, or rather like a substantial decrease in the failure probability. And like these numbers are sort of based on like a proper mulligan strategy of always digging for your ramp effect when you don't have it. So it already takes that into account. But yeah, I always figured that like the number with 8 ramp effects was just not enough for proper consistency, and like reaching your like close to 94% was closer to the level where I wanted to be, which corresponds to a deck with a singleton 1 jump ahead next to Tipo and Sail.
And it worked out. But
And
the
yeah,
answer
go ahead.
the answer to the giveaway was 5, and we did have a winner. Someone actually, you're not cheating out there, Re. Did you really know it was
They
5?
got it so fast.
They
Like
got-
all of them got it so fast, and then they're all 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5.
Yeah, it's Georgian. Georgian got the answer first. I'm giving Georgian credit because they said 5 first. Okay,
So are there 2 gentlemen on the top, each with a sword, and then 3 swords poking out of the bottom?
there's 3 at the bottom, and the 2 gentlemen at the top also have swords.
Each have
Let's
one.
zoom in a little bit.
I'm going really close to my computer screen.
All right, so I'm enhancing right
we're
here.
locked
We
in.
have 3
Yeah.
swords here, and
Yep.
then we have this
4 or
gentleman
5.
here. 4 or 5 swords is what we're giving the answer to. So there are 5 swords and 1 jump ahead.
If
And
somebody
Georgian-
sees a hidden sword, somebody else, again, tag at JDZ Quest on all socials. Call your lawyers. Make sure he gets you a trophy.
Sick. I will take the heat there. So we did give those giveaways. We got them done. And as we slowly start to wrap up the show for next week, we'll kick it around again to No I'm Not Frank, and then we'll wrap it up with Thiago. As again, thank you gentlemen for being here. Where can we find you next? What's going on? What do you got coming up these next couple weeks? And then we'll probably wrap it there. No I'm Not. Where can I find you, and where can I see you, and where can I get more No I'm Not in my life?
You can find me in the A. No. Twitter, actual no, I'm not here in World Class Cards Discord. I don't know. I'm all over the internet. I'm not going to be going to Brazil. My next Lorcana event is probably the end of May at CCS Houston. That'll be the Wilds Set 12 25K. It'll also be the last tournament feeding into the 50K Invitational. Yeah, next card game tournament I have is actually ATL Riftbound in like 2 weeks.
Okay. You're gonna win. Hopefully you knock it out and bring that Riftbound trophy back home, and then you can just tear it in protest and say Lorcana's a better game. If you can do that for me, I would appreciate that. What about you, Frank? Where can we find more Frank? Anything you got coming up in the next couple weeks?
You can just find me at home, like looking over the art of 1 jump ahead to try to find any hidden swords. That's it.
That's it.
Sick. As he's studying, he's got the magnifying glass out, and we're gonna find that 6th sword, and I'm gonna have a lawsuit courtesy of Thiago here. But Thiago, what you got going on, big dog? I know you got a lot happening.
I'm
Where
very
can I find you?
litigious, so you can find me in the courts with my lawyers always, but you can also find me hopefully at DLC São Paulo, still trying to work it out, see if I'll be able to make it. But I would definitely love to go. Otherwise, yeah, we'll start grinding some Infinity, start trying to really get a handle on the format. Still deciding if I'm going to go to some of the CCQs before the DLC. It's kind of going to depend on how much stuff is seeming like is going to be really like secretly powerful if I want to like hold anything, but I imagine I'll just want to play the CCQs just for fun. And so I'll probably be playing some random aggro deck in some of these CCQs for fun.
All right, on. Play the Tinkerbell challenge, man. Get out there and get active with these Tinkerbells, man. You can make it happen. I know I sure will be. And that's where I'll be next week. So thank you guys for being here. Again, if you guys want to see me, I'm JDZ Quest. I'm all over. And we'll be back next week with another episode. And this time we're going to do it right. Okay, one time, not 2 times in a row. Thank you guys again. Sorry for the mix up, everyone out there. I hope you all have a wonderful week and achieve all of your goals, ambitions, and dreams. But that is going to wrap up episode 9 of the Procast. Until then, my fellow Lumineers, as always, I'm JDZ. I'm on a quest. Shout out to the real ones and salute to all of you. Until next time, peace.